Hello, this is Brittany. From the podcast. I apologize in advance of this episode. Please don't take it out on my good friends, Rob and Graham. Please don't take it out on me either. I'm not emotionally stable enough for that. But accept my most sincere apology. And enjoy the episode. It's a goodie.
Welcome to Pumpkin Spice Podcast. It's a seasonal holiday treat for fans of horror films. I'm Rob Schulte.
I'm Brittany High.
And I'm Graham Young.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the first ever edition of Pumpkin Spice Podcast with all three hosts in the same audio adventure.
Whoa.
Yeah, thank you to technology for bringing us together for this fine film, Rob.
Oh,
and
it's
Brittany.
Great. Brittany, did you have any thoughts? Well, we all know it's right there on the title. We watched Children of the Corn Part 3, Urban Harvest. Any thoughts? Did you have to use your points for this movie as well?
My points. My Weight Watchers points. I did. It was a doozy. No, I ordered Children of the Corn 2 through 7 on DVD for $4 because I love a steal.
A steal deal.
It was I'm sorry, we were not supposed to say the movie is terrible, and I already lost that.
All right, pay up.
Here's my DVD of 2 through 7 of Children of the Corn series.
And the quality was stunning, I'm sure.
Well, the reviews were really bad, and I was like, oh, wait, why is there such bad reviews for the series? And then everybody's reviews like, it doesn't include one. I'm like, well, it's in the title. That's more bad, actually. How did you guys watch it? You probably already owned it, right?
I found it on the internet. That's all I want to say about that. Not to reveal too much about how I attain my films.
And in doing so, you told everyone how you attained your films.
Yeah, it's totally legal, okay, Mr. Mueller? But anyway, so I was able to see it on the internet. First impressions?
Well, before we get into impressions and whatnot, how about we catch our audience up by reading a user-generated storyline from the Internet Movie Database. Two young Gatlin residents are orphaned after the younger brother kills their father. So the terror of Gatlin goes urban when the two boys are placed in the custody of two foster parents. The younger brother, who by this point is established as the evil one, brought some corn seeds along for the road and plants them in the courtyard of an abandoned warehouse, bringing He Who Walks Behind the Rose to the city. He winds up possessing his high school peers, and soon his older brother feels called to stop him. This is written by Michael Kuntsignota. He left his email on there, but I'm not going to read that one out. I think he does a fairly good job writing this. He probably wrote it in like 30 seconds.
Sure.
But it tells us what we need to know, but leaves out the subtleties, I'd say.
Well, 30 seconds is the same time that the screenwriters took to write this.
Yeah, this review was written, it took longer to write this review than it did to write the script of the movie. Is that what you mean?
Yes, yeah, that's what I was going for, yeah.
Based on the short story by Stephen King, the master of horror. The terror began in the fields. Then it grew stronger. Now, evil is about to show its face once again. Bill and Amanda Porter have just adopted two boys from the country.
Modest dress is the surest way to a pious slave.
They seemed like nice boys.
Let us give thanks to He who walks behind the rose.
Don't worry about it. We'll get the hang of this.
But the Porters have no idea who they've just taken into their home.
Who the hell are you?
Prepare yourself for the third and most terrifying chapter. Children of the Corn 3, Urban Harvest.
Like my pa always said, you reap what you sow.
I don't know why we follow the villain throughout this movie. Question I would like answered. It makes us not question really anything, but just like sit along. It's like Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. You hop in and watch the pictures go by.
Yeah. I agree, Rob. For me, this film falls into like this dangerous territory where the horror film is neither scary nor bad enough to be entertaining.
Yeah.
Well, I disagree on the scary part. I was pretty scared sometimes.
Really?
Okay, I would like to know these moments.
Oh, well, we'll touch on them for sure.
Okay, let's jump in. Graham, do you want to take a cutting class?
In this school, you don't die trying. You just die.
Oh, okay, sure. I have some quick factoids for y'all. This was the screen debut of Charlize Theron. I'm so sorry, Charlize. This is also the first film in this series produced under Dimension Films and with a partnership with Miramax Films. And so basically Dimension produced 2 through 7. Which Brittany will certainly find out because she has all 7.
Yeah.
Good luck on that. And our last tidbit is this is also the first film in this series that was released direct to video.
Oh, yeah, and I believe the rest of them were too, right?
I'm not 100% certain, but I'm going to go ahead and say yes. Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
You're telling me that there's a potential that the quality gets better as the series goes on?
That's usually
Well,
not
Naomi
the
Watts
case.
is in part 4.
Okay, we have something to look forward to. Naomi Watts is one of the best actors out there. So yeah, that's cool. Okay. I'm down.
Yes. Yeah, it gives us a little bit we're halfway there, you know?
Yeah.
Almost.
Sure.
Oh God. Okay, next segment, Maniac.
Maniac. It will tear the life out of you.
Okay, here's my craziest thing that happened in the movie, which is this segment, Maniac. Joshua, the older foster brother, when you're caught making out with someone on a couch in broad daylight, after the fact, you cannot argue that you are just friends with that person. I guess this would be a maniac cop because he's a good guy. But, like, that was bizarre to me. Anyone want to chime in on this? He's arguing that he's just friends.
I disagree 100%.
What?
You can test the waters, no, but yeah, that was a very odd scene. And it would have stood out if the whole movie wasn't bizarre. But yes, that really did, when I was reading your notes, Rob, that really stuck out to me. It's like, yeah, I noticed that.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's like catches him. I hesitate to say red-handed because they were both doing it. But like, for whatever reason, in this movie, he felt like he needed to like make it cool with the brother. And so they're like on the basketball court. And he's just like, no, man, it's cool. I know that, like, shirts were off, hands were places, but, like, we're just friends. Like, we're friends that
I'm sorry,
do that.
I don't straddle my friends.
Yeah.
I was waiting for him to be like, yeah, dude, we're just friends. Here, we're friends, too. And then he
Yeah.
starts kissing him.
I want to see that movie.
Yes, I would see the timeline shift of this movie where it just follows those guys after that.
Hell yeah, dude. That would have been cool. Honestly, anything would have been an improvement, no?
Yeah. Do you all have any maniac moments?
You know I do.
Oh, bring them at me.
Well, so the pastor principal guy, You know, he
Yes.
chokes on a roach and vomits blood. He has a bad nightmare about children murdering. And then he shows up to work the next morning. I was like, you could take a personal day, sir.
Yeah, no kidding.
What?
Yeah. And he's walking down the hallway, and everyone's giving him like a go to hell look. And he's like, "How's it going, Susan? How's it going, Tommy?" And everyone's looking at him like, "Go to hell." And it's just like, yeah, take a personal day.
Yeah.
You know, I think you've got some vacation accrued. Like, take more than one day.
Yeah. You know, if I have a roach in my mouth in any context or capacity, I'm going to take some time off.
Yeah, the next 3 days are canceled regardless.
Yes.
Yeah.
If there's a roach in my house, I'm going on vacation for a month.
When there's a roach in my house, I have to like text my neighbors like, sorry for all the screaming. I'm okay.
Graham, what do you do when there's a roach in your house? Do you like add it to the stew?
Ew!
Well, I have an awesome kitty cat that takes care of those problems for me. So yeah, cats are wonderful, and that's just one of the many great things they do for you.
Brittany, how crazy is it that we both have dogs and Graham has a cat?
It's
weird.
really not that crazy. It's kind of just a 50-50.
Yeah, I guess you're right. I guess it'd be crazier if he had like a wolf.
If you had a ferret, though, we would have to have a conversation.
Yeah, I'm not sure we could continue this podcast.
Totally off subject, but I had a friend that owned 2 ferrets, and the only thing I can say is that they smelled so bad. They smelled like somebody's armpit.
Oh, God.
And that's the only thing, that's the big takeaway for me on ferrets, is that they're very smelly.
And that's all I have to say about that.
Graham, did you have any maniac moments?
As far as kills, I thought that the death of the mother was crazy, and it was a pretty decent effect. But she was like possibly one of the, spoiler alert, redeemable characters in the film, and she goes out pretty early. But her death is on a technical point or a standpoint, pretty good.
Oh, yeah, but I was like rooting for her the whole time.
Yeah.
She was like escaping the corn place and she lost her shoes.
Yeah. It was when she dies, the movie kind of goes with her.
Well,
Believed in you, girl.
Yeah.
Since this is under the Maniac umbrella, I have to say what I thought was the craziest thing about the mom dying is that, like, she's getting attacked and it looks as if she's dying by the corn. It cuts to, like, business meeting with Jim Metzler and then cuts back to the mom dying even more.
Oh, yeah. When he was in the important corn negotiating meeting.
Yeah, it's like, why couldn't they have just shown her dying all the way through?
With the magic 4-week corn.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll talk about the business negotiations in this movie.
Jim Meltzer is a peach of an actor.
All right, so mid-episode, I just want to take a break so it's not all at the end. If you like our show, please support us on Patreon. It's patreon.com/pumpkinspicepodcast. You get bonus episodes. That's fun. I recently talked with Brittany about The Dentist, which is actually way more hilarious than I thought it was going to be. Graham and I have an episode about, what was that movie that we watched? Phantasm Creepers? That one was fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
We also watched Pin from 1988. That was awesome.
And you all watched The Nest, which I'm still very interested in checking out. So, yeah, thank you for sort of being the guinea pigs for that film, because I'd never heard of it.
Oh, man, it's great. Brittany, you remember The Nest?
Yes, I do. You know, my favorite part was when he wanted to turn the radio off, so he just shot it with his gun.
All right, which segment is next?
Ring Ew.
Ring Ew. Brittany, do you have a ring Ew?
Yes, it's short, sweet, to the point. When the little kid licks his mom's ear.
Oh. Thanks for reminding me. I had
God.
successfully forgotten about that. So now it's back in my head.
Yeah, that was the worst. He's like, "Can you give me a kiss too?" And then he licks her ear, which he's so like pure, holier than thou. He's like, "Don't wear colorful clothes, but it's okay to stick your tongue in your mom's ear."
He's like a mini Gene Simmons.
Ew.
Oh God.
You made it worse.
I think this might be the best time out of any time of this episode to just bring up that, like, I think I told you both the same thing upon finishing this movie. Like, I don't think it's at its peak potential because our director was a first-time director who probably was spending all of his time wondering, how do I make this main character threatening in the slightest?
Yeah, but he went on to greater and bigger things. He directed Blood Surf.
Oh, Blood Surf.
Yeah.
God, this kid is the opposite of threatening and frightening. Why are these decisions made, Graham? You're in the film biz.
Well, I think it was just to make some money off of a hot IP. I mean, that's why we have 7 sequels. And the thing about this franchise for me is that all the previous franchises that we've talked about, me personally, I've liked at least one of the films in the series, and I don't know if I can say that about Children of the Corn.
The first one still looked good.
There's some the photography is great. There are some great parts of that film, but there's also, just that ending alone.
Yeah.
Brittany,
yeah, you're right. There's none of them so far that I have enjoyed.
I did.
And you survived, I guess? You're still here, so.
Barely, by a thread.
Okay, well, my ringu is just the priest barf. There's a lot of gross stuff that happens in this film, but that's the one that is the most, like, up close and personal and out of nowhere and not needed. He just wakes up from that dream that might be still within a dream and just, like, has a little of red goo come out of his mouth.
Yeah, they gave him some, like, spaghetti right before that take or something. Yeah, it's that was pretty gross, Rob.
Well, and this is like, and I'll talk a little bit more about it in our next segment, but like this is like the height of Mortal Kombat era. So you see that in some of the other effects, but this was just like, priest barfs blood. Got it. Just put it in. Dude, we could cut it out later if we don't need it.
Yeah.
And they didn't.
It's been 5 minutes and there's nothing scary or gross happening. Something needs to happen.
Please. All right. Graham, did you have any ringus?
The barf and the licking of the ear are gross, but none of those for me are as gross as the fashion of the 1990s. This film came out in 95, I believe. I noticed, I don't know if you all noticed this. I think it was pretty blatant, but so all the kids go to a private Catholic school, yet none of them are wearing uniforms. They're all wearing 90s sort of bright
hip
colored
fashion.
clothing. Yeah. I thought that was kind of weird, but whatever. I personally have never been to a private Catholic school, but in the movies, they usually are wearing some type of uniform.
Well, and I had gone to a private Catholic school and it was all uniforms. And then even movies like The Craft, they have uniforms, which the unbelievable thing in that is that they get to like modify their uniforms. And even that's a stretch, but having a Catholic school where anything goes, that seems a little odd. But also your teachers aren't taking sick days, so everything's a little crazy.
Yeah. You know what's real crazy? That the fashion of the 90s is more offensive to you than a child licking his mom's ear. Yeah, weirdo.
Don't judge me. No, it's, like every scene, it was just like, hey, remember the 90s? Like everything was like bright color. I don't know.
Isn't that what's fashionable now?
What?
Like, isn't that what the kids are wearing?
Kind of.
We're wearing cool clothes. Don't worry about us kids, Rob.
Oh, sorry.
These kids were like the coolest kids in Chicago. So cool that if you look really close, there are palm trees always behind them.
So cool.
In Chicago.
And mountains between Nebraska and Chicago.
Yeah. I wonder where
Also,
this movie was filmed.
The drive from Nebraska to Chicago overnight, not going to happen.
Of all the things in this movie, that's the most unbelievable.
Should we do a Death Becomes Her?
Well, I was wondering if we could squeeze in a thing that made me go, And of course, I would extend the courtesy to you guys as well.
Oh, please. Let's go,
Things that make you go,
Things that made me go, No, but for real, I just, this is kind of a question that maybe I should have asked originally in the first place. But I totally get why the kids need to, like, kill all the parents and stuff. You know, they gotta, like, start over and stuff. Everybody's on board.
Yes.
But why does it have to be so gruesome? Like, why does it have to be so intricate and, like, thought out, like, crazy deaths where they, like, fill people with cockroaches and their heads split open? You know, it's like, if you just need to kill all the parents, can't you just, like, poison them all at once and be done with it and move on with your life? Start your new world?
Is that the plan with the corn?
Oh, no, because the corn poisons the kids that make them murderers.
Yeah, that's right.
And so then all of those kids have to kill their parents. But I mean, they could have knocked out the whole town, like, easy. Just, like, poison everybody. Throw it in the Kool-Aid.
But these kids have to know that eventually, within a couple of years, they're going to be adults.
I know. So scary. Like, what are they going to do now? Like,
yeah, but is that the thing? Like, do they all accept that they go off to sacrifice themselves at 18 or 19 like
that would
they
be
did in the first one?
Hilarious. Like in the fourth movie, like all the kids just become adults and then they just like kill each other. Like I don't know. Like I never understood the motivation of the man who walks behind the cornfields or whatever.
He who walks behind the rows.
Okay,
yeah, it's more poetic.
Gotcha.
And as Ted informed us last episode, that is rows of corn, not the flower, the rose.
I had no idea.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know. I mean, the first movie establishes that the kids are willing participants in sacrificing themselves. They get upset when it moves the year back 1 year, so they have to be younger. But they just have to keep recruiting. And then there's that scene where Eli, like, Echo shouts out to apparently all of Chicago, and then 12 kids show up. But if they're constantly recruiting like that, then they can, you know, catch them young, like cigarettes, and, you know, just always be cycling through new leaders and new just followers.
Yeah.
Another question, real quick. So, is he who walks behind the rose the turkey monster at the end? And is he also inside of Eli in this? And then also inside of Micah in the previous one? Or is Eli doing the turkey monster's bidding? I don't. You see where I'm coming from here?
I do, but you know what? I'm like, we're sitting here being like, oh my God, what about this? What about that? And I think that people writing it are like laughing, being like, oh my God, I honestly cannot answer that question. I don't know. I didn't really think about it.
Action figures and stop animation in this movie. Stop pricking it so hard.
It's weird. This movie is so baffling to me. And I'll tell you kind of a thing that made me go, was how the older brother is very quick to point out to his friends that his younger brother is his adopted brother. So no real connection there. But
they slept in the same bed.
Yeah, but he's quick to point that out, like at least twice in the film. He says, "Yeah, he's my adopted brother, though." You know.
Well, we got to let him know that, like, I'm not gonna be preaching to you at lunchtime. I'm the cool one that plays basketball.
Yeah, I would never kill you over corn.
Also, how the hell could he play basketball so good?
He's never held a basketball in his life, and then all of a sudden he's like dribbling between his legs and stuff. It's so weird.
Brittany, do you have an explanation for these b-ball skills?
Some people are born with it, you know? Just a real Michael Jordan.
All right, let's. Do we have a Death Becomes Her?
Oh, you know it.
Yes. Notable deaths. Death Becomes Her.
Death Becomes Her.
I just have to make a telephone call.
Notable death. I don't even know if this is like the craziest death because a lot of things happened.
True.
We've been through a lot. But this is the part that's really like, I need it explained to me. Let's talk about it. So the social worker lady, she's about to light a cigarette, but the flame goes into her throat, forces her to smash her own head into the window, and then her face melts off. First of all, when he was like coming for the social worker, I was like, leave her out of this. Social work is a thankless job.
Yeah.
She does not deserve this. But then I was also like, what did happen, by the way? What's with the flame? And then it's like, what was that, guys?
Well, and what does the coroner say is the cause of death? Like,
I guess she inhaled a flame and then it melted her head.
But in the meantime, she also smashed her face into a window.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that her dying off was totally uncool as well. I did not like that.
I liked that she totally ignored the kids with nunchucks in the first scene at the foster home.
Yes, that's right.
When the parents are picking up our children of said corn, there's like two ruffians walking across with nunchucks.
Well, social workers are overworked. She's probably exhausted. She probably hasn't had a personal day in years.
What's with people not taking time for themselves?
You gotta take care of yourself so you can take care of other people,
We all get sick time at our jobs. I want us all to promise ourselves to dedicate some time to ourselves. Okay?
Deal. And this is like our suicide pact, but self-care.
Kind of like an It. Graham, are you in on this?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I have nothing to add to that, yes.
All right, well, my notable death is what I hinted at earlier, just the fact that this is 1995, and I believe that is the year Mortal Kombat 2 came out.
Uh-huh.
And no, Mortal Kombat 2 came out in 1993, so we were already in the throes of it.
Yeah.
So when we get like the head being ripped off of Malcolm and like this extended like series of spinal cord and guts and things like that, I think the director of this movie, what's his name? He's 26 years old when he made this. Like, of course he's playing Mortal Kombat games.
Fatality.
And of course they're using action figures for like stop animation stuff. Like, what do you do when your budget's low and you're just trying to make a fun little horror movie? And I kind of respect that.
Well, during that scene, though, I was literally screaming at the screen, no! Because I wanted it to stop. But that's not how it works.
Graham, did you have any notable deaths?
Just the one with the mom. I guess.
Can you explain it? Because that's a really good one.
So you think it's basically kind of a bait and switch because you think she's going to die in this cornfield. She gets out of the cornfield and then she trips over something and she lands on a metal rod that goes through her mouth. And then I guess it was like a water pipe. So there's water starts going through her mouth and then there's blood. It was. I just thought the effect was cool, and like the entire time I was watching it, I wasn't scared, but I was trying to figure out like how technically they pulled that off, because it was somewhat impressive. And the only time in the film where I was like, "Oh, that's kind of neat."
Oh,
movie magic.
Yeah, that's movie magic, Rob.
Well, we're almost done with this one, y'all. If our listeners have not left us a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts, please take the time to do that, maybe while you're listening. And now to our final segment of the episode, The Thing.
We found something. We found something. We found something.
Okay, I'm going to start us off on this one.
Okay.
Go for it.
Jim Metzler, I like to call him Chris Brenner. I don't know if you all have watched Star Trek Deep Space Nine.
Of course.
There's a character named Chris Brenner, which is played by Jim Metzler. He's always going to be Chris Brenner to me. But there's a point where they bring the children home, and they're about to sit down. Well, they're sitting down to family dinner, and Chris Brenner picks up a slice of pizza that's on the table, and he says something along the lines of, he's like, "There's nothing to it. You just pick it up, fold it, jam it in." And the pizza is not a folding type of pizza. It is a store-bought frozen pizza with like thick slices that do not fold.
Yeah, it's almost a deep crust.
Yes.
Not a Chicago deep crust pizza, but a deep crust.
Like a deep dish.
There you go.
Also, the kids are from Nebraska. They're not from Venus. Like, they do know about pizza, right?
Yeah, they have to have at least heard of it.
Right.
Yeah, and I think that moment represents all the thought put into this film.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to have a scene about pizza and folding it, get a pizza that fucking folds.
Some PA fucked up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And no one else there cared to be like, this doesn't make any sense. Should we? Okay, cool. Still getting paid? All right.
Yeah. It's a paycheck for pretty much everyone involved with this film.
Yes. So that scene represents the entire movie.
Well, I think that perfectly sums up. I think that really does sum up the film well there, Rob. And speaking of Chris Brenner, that actor's name is Jim Metzler, and for me, he kind of looks like the offspring of Ben Mendelsohn and Harry Anderson.
I don't know who those people are.
Harry. Yeah, have y'all ever watched Night Court?
I was going to say, I thought he looked like Mr. Sheffield from The Nanny.
He's an actor that looks like several different people. But
great.
You've all seen Night Court, right? Harry Anderson from Night Court.
Oh, yeah.
Or he was in that TV version.
Okay, Harry Anderson, I know.
Yeah. Ben Mendelsohn, let's think. He was in the latest Rogue One, which I didn't see, but I know he's in it. He was in Killing Them Softly, which was the Brad Pitt film based on the book Kogan's Trade.
Sorry, Graham.
He's an Australian actor, and
I think this joke belongs in the segment "Death Becomes Her."
Well, I was also going to say real quickly, he also looks like one of our listeners, Nate Cadman. So, Nate Cadman, if you're listening, you kind of look like Ben Mendelsohn. I've actually told him that
kind
before.
of looks like
Jim Metzler.
Jim Metzler?
And he must look like Mr. Sheffield, too.
Yeah.
He looks like all these people. He like if all these people were like in a police lineup, I don't think a decision could be made.
Nate, please send in a photo of you with corn.
Yes.
Okay. Brittany, did you have your one big takeaway?
Gosh, I do. The corn business is booming. I loved the serious business meetings about corn. And then later when, by the way, I kept thinking of the dad like the horny dad the whole time, because at the beginning when they first get kids, he's already trying to fuck his wife. And it's just like, can you please?
That's not what the kids need the first night.
Yeah, and she's like, I don't know, I feel weird. There's like a 17-year-old boy in the next room. I'm a mom now, all of a sudden.
He's gonna hear us.
Yeah. But, so I called him the horny dad in my mind. But yeah, the horny dad was like staying up late working, and he had an ear of corn in one hand and a corn spreadsheet in the other. Like the title of the spreadsheet was Corn Export Countries.
Yeah.
So stupid. I loved it. And a whole like shithole of this movie, like that brought me joy.
God, I just loved how like everything about him wanting to like sell this corn and was like so excited about it. Really, really made me not turn this movie off. Like those scenes were the ones where I was like, oh, okay, I can make it through.
I can do this.
All right, well, I think it's time we rate this movie. You ready?
Yes.
Okay, we made it this far. So we've got a tiered rating system of, is it a Scream? Good movie. Living Dead, just okay. Misery, bad, no fun. Or the wild card, Vampiros Lesbos. Graham, let's start with you. Give me your rating and why.
I would say that this movie was miserable. So I was miserable while I was watching it. So I will give it misery. And all I have to say is that Daniel Cerny is no John Franklin.
All right, Brittany.
You know it was bad. But we're all in agreement. No tricks here. It's bad, guys.
Yeah, spoiler alert, we didn't like the film.
Yeah, I'm going to decide we're all in the same thing. First time, we're all going with misery. Like I said earlier, Eli was the exact opposite of frightening, and I don't think we need to follow him. We needed to follow the kids who saw these creepy new neighbors move into town.
That's so true.
And frankly, the best acting in the entire movie is when Joshua sees the scarecrow turn into like a real living being, and he's like, "Oh shit!"
Yeah,
and he runs away.
I think it was supposed to be his dad, and he was like, "Dad?"
Yeah, and like when it turns into the zombie thing, he's like legitimately freaks out, and I was like, you know what? Good acting, sir.
Yeah, but don't save it for something else. Don't. This is Children of the Corn 3. Save it for a real film.
This guy, he's had a little bit of a career. American Horror Story, he was in that.
He was in the sequel to Wild Things, Diamonds in the Rough.
Ooh, Wild Things. Should we watch that on Pumpkin Spice Podcast?
You know, I will stand by this statement. I think it's one of the most underrated movies of the 90s.
Brittany, have you ever seen Wild Things?
I don't recall.
Matt Dillon, Kevin Bacon,
Neve Campbell,
and what's her name?
Charlie Sheen's ex-wife.
One
of his ex-wives.
Refer to her like that.
Well, I'm just
Denise
trying to think
Richards.
of her. Denise Richards, yeah, Starship Troopers.
Yeah.
I'm down.
Also, there's a deleted scene where, and Graham, you may not know this, Kevin Bacon and Matt Dillon take a shower together.
Well, you should have led with that. Bury the lead, why don't you?
Well, you'll have to find the deleted scene.
Well,
yeah, but it's on YouTube.
Anywho, this has been a wonderful episode of Pumpkin Spice Podcast. We can't finish an episode without reading a user review from Letterboxd, right?
No, absolutely not. I won't stand for it.
I found one by Roman K. He gave this movie 4 stars out of 5.
Did we
not out
check
of 10.
his mental state?
Well, here's what he had to say. Rewatched for the first time in 20 years, and it turned out to be better than I remember. Great acting by the kid in the villain role. He really reminded me of John Francis Daly from Freaks and Geeks. Great, gory, and creative kills all around. Also, the creature feature climax doesn't bother me much. Yes, he who walks behind the rose turned out to be a turkey dinosaur, but at least we got to see that fucker. Wow, pleasantly optimistic.
Maybe it's the kid who played that grown up.
Probably. As you heard before, you can support us on Patreon, or you can leave us a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts. But really, the biggest thing that helps us out is if you tell your friends. So tell a friend about Pumpkin Spice Podcast. I'm Rob Schulte, that's Brittany High, and that's Graham Young. And unless you guys have anything to plug, wait, yes we do. Graham, you've got a game show. Brittany, we have another podcast. Let's go through it. Brittany, you want to tell them about TV Show?
The TV Show. It's a podcast where we talk about TV shows that you've definitely seen, but we get into it. It's pretty good. I recommend it, personally.
Yeah, and if you support this podcast on Patreon, you're also supporting that podcast. Graham, tell us about Total Runtime.
Game show here in Austin. We will start our second season this February on a special Valentine's Day episode.
Oh, congratulations.
And yeah, thank you very much. And Yolanda and I are also hosting an Oscar event at AFS this year. And 2019 will be the debut of the Snubbies.
Oh. So, the Snubbies.
The Snubbies, yeah. So basically, everyone who was left out from nominations that people are passionate about that should have been nominated, they will get to give their love to those artists that night.
Who's getting snubbed the most, Graham, in your opinion?
Just off the top of my head, I thought Regina Hall for Support the Girls was robbed of an Oscar nomination for Best Actress. And for Best Actor, I would say Ethan Hawke for First Reformed.
Oh, okay. Well, Graham, it's never a complete episode when you're on it without you giving us a recommendation of something to watch. I know you're always ready to recommend something. Why don't you give the people a recommendation?
Oh, wow. Okay, put me on the spot. Well, this January...
We can wait.
This January, aside from everything I've watched at the AFS Cinema, I've been watching nothing but spaghetti westerns. So I would recommend The Great Silence to anyone who hasn't seen it. It has one of the darkest endings to any movie ever. And A Bullet for the General are great movies, and they both star Klaus Kinski in spaghetti westerns. So that if I can't sell it any more than that.
Can you tell us what they're about?
The Great Silence is let's see. It is a story about a silent sort of vigilante who's protecting a group of a group of wanted men and women from bounty hunters. So it's kind of bounty hunters versus this guy who's trying to protect bad people. So there are no good guys or bad guys, or they're all bad guys in this film. And again, for anyone who hasn't seen The Great Silence, the ending is a total shocker.
All right. Well, you heard it here from Graham. Thanks, you all. I think we had a really good episode.
I enjoyed it.
Awesome. Well, we'll see y'all in a couple of weeks for the next episode. We watch part 4 of Children of the Corn. This one also has a subtitle that we'll figure out.
With the great Naomi Watts, so I'm actually hyped for this. So
I have a feeling that, and Brittany, I'd like you to weigh in on this too. I think this next one might be enough time and enough money has changed that enough hands have gone out of control.
Oh, good.
I don't know. What do you think? Maybe it'll be different. Maybe it'll be better.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We've trailed on long enough on this one. I'll see you all later.
Bye.